Let's now jump into a question where we actually find the perpendicular bisector of a line joining 2 points, and those 2 points are actually going to be 4, 12 and 16, 8. So first of all, when you want to find the equation of a line, you need two things. You need the gradient and you need the y-intercept, so that you can basically write the equation of the line in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So first of all, I need to find the gradient of the line AB, right? Why is that necessary? Because if I can find the gradient of the black line, I can take its negative reciprocal and find the gradient of the green line. Because we know that perpendicular lines follow a negative reciprocal relationship in their gradients. So I don't have any point that lies on my perpendicular bisector, so I can't find the gradient of it through any formula. But I know the points through which my original line passes through, the black line in this case. So points A and B are representing the points on the black line, and I can find the gradient of the black line over here. So let's try to find that. So first of all, finding the gradient of the original line, calling it as AB, and I'm going to use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 directly. That's 8 minus 12 divided by 16 minus 4. And if I solve it, this is simply going to be minus 4 over a 12. You can simplify this, but even if you leave it as it is, it does not really matter. This is simply going to be minus 1 over 3. Alright, so I think in this case it's better to simplify. The second thing is using the relationship of negative reciprocal. If I know the gradient of the original line, I can take its negative reciprocal to find the gradient of the perpendicular bisector. Let's call it as MPB. And that is simply going to follow a negative reciprocal relationship. Now once again, these are two words. Negative generally means you reverse the sign. If it's positive, you make it negative. If it's negative, you make it positive. Simply reverse the sign. And reciprocal simply means you swap the places of the numerator and the denominator. So swap the numerator of the fraction with the denominator, and vice versa, obviously. So when I apply these rules on the answer negative 1 over 3, so first of all, I need to convert it to a positive 1 over 3. So the gradient of the perpendicular bisector is simply going to be, I first of all change the sign, which is going to be a positive 1 over 3, and then I basically switch these places, so it's going to be a 3 over 1. We all know that a 3 over 1 is basically just a 3. So my answer for the gradient of the perpendicular bisector is simply going to be a 3. Now that you know the gradient of the perpendicular bisector, you can write its equation as y is equal to 3x plus c. But you don't know the y-intercept. And there is a very easy way to find the y-intercept if you basically know a point through which your line passes. Now you need to ask yourself this. Do I know any special point through which the perpendicular bisector passes? It's a bisector, so it divides line AB into exactly 2 equal parts, meaning it passes through the midpoint of AB. So I can use the midpoint formula on these 2 points A and B and find this purple point, which is known to be the midpoint of the line AB, and it's such a special point that my perpendicular bisector also passes through it. So let's try to find out the midpoint of line AB. In order to find the midpoint of line AB, let's have it as a capital M. The midpoint of line AB, generally small m represents the gradient and capital M represents the midpoint. So we need to know the coordinates. First, point A is 4, 12 and B is 16, 8. So it's simply going to be 4 plus 16 divided by 2. Sum of the x coordinates divided by 2, comma, and then it's going to be sum of the y coordinates divided by 2. That is going to be 12 plus 8 divided by 2. Both of these formulae are generally given in the formula booklet if you're an IBDP AI student. So they are given. But in all of the other levels, this formula is pretty easy to remember, as if we just focus this formula as if we just look at this formula with the concept of finding the middle or the average of two numbers, you basically add them and divide by 2, and that's what we're doing over here. So it's going to be 20 over 2 comma 20 over 2. So in this case, the midpoint is simply going to be the answer, which is going to be 10 comma 10. Now this is the point through which not only my line AB passes, but obviously it's the midpoint of the line AB, but the perpendicular bisector also passes through this point, meaning this point is eligible to be plugged into this equation of the perpendicular bisector so that I can find C. Now, why am I using this concept? If I talk in really general terms, you see the symbols Y, X and C over here. Unless you don't plug in any value for Y and X, you're not going to find the value of C. And for an equation, Y and X represent the X and Y axis, meaning the coordinates of a point that lies on this line. So only the only the midpoint qualifies to be plugged into this equation. So Y is 10 is equal to 3. The X coordinate is also 10 plus C. So the method was basically insert the midpoint of AB, which was 10 comma 10 inside, right? So basically do the math. This is going to be 30 plus C, and C is simply going to be a minus 20. You have successfully found out the equation of the perpendicular bisector in the gradient intercept form, which is basically going to be given as Y is equal to 3x minus 20. And this is like the 4-step method to find the equation of a perpendicular bisector, given that you have 2 points of your original line. You may also look to convert this equation into the general form. The general form of a straight line equation is basically ax plus by plus d is equal to 0, meaning you just need to have a 0 on one side and everything else needs to be on the other side. So if I move the 3x on the other side, that minus 20 on the other side, I will basically get my answer. So the answer of this perpendicular bisector equation in the general form is going to be minus 3x plus y plus 20 is equal to 0, and that is your answer in the general form. Note, in the general form, this number is not the y-intercept. That is why I basically used the symbol d over here and not a small c.